Hi Year 10s, this is a video on using the sum and product method of factorization to be able to solve quadratic equations. So quadratic equations are ones like this. We've got an x squared term and we've got an x squared term plus an x term plus a constant term, a number which doesn't have a variable so it stays the same. Now this is equal to 0 and we want to work out how to solve it. And you might remember doing some where you already had brackets in there and we used a certain method to solve it. In this case, we don't have the brackets. So what we have to do is factorize. We've got to get it in bracket form before we can actually solve it. So how do we do that? When we've got a quadratic like this, we can call the number in front of the x the sum. All right? So the sum is the number in front of x. And then we call the number which doesn't have a variable, the constant term, the product. So that's a constant term and that's known as the product. So when we're trying to solve this and factorize it, get it in bracket form, we first write out the factors of the product. What are the numbers that multiply together and give you 6? The product 6. In this case, what are the numbers that multiply together to give you 6? Well, we know that 1 times 6 is 6. Then we can go 2. 2 times what equals 6? If you're not sure about that, go 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So 2 times 3 equals 6. If 2 times 3 equals 6, then it makes sense that 3 times 2 is also 6. Then 4 times what gives you 6? Well, go 6 divided by 4. It's not a whole number answer, therefore it's not actually a factor. 5 is the same. Then 1 and 6 are factors of 6, therefore 6 times 1 also equals 6. Alright? So we've written out the factors of the product. Then our second step is to add the factors together and think about which ones give you this sum. Okay, so let's recap. Sum is the number in front of the x. Product is the constant term. So we first write down the factors of the product, the two numbers that multiply together to give you the product. Now we're going to add the factors. So I'm just going to go 6 plus 1, that's 7. 2 plus 3, that's 5. 3 plus 2, that's 5. And 6 plus 1, that's 7. So now I pick the ones that give me the sum. So 2 and 3 give me the sum, and 3 and 2 give me the sum. My sum is 5, is that number in front of the x. So I've got 2 and 3 and 3 and 2. Step 3, put them in brackets. Alright, so now I've done all that, I can go, well, that therefore equals x plus 2 times 5, x plus 3, which is equal to 0. I'm not going to put the equal sign there because I've got it here. So I've got x plus 2 times x plus 3 equals 0. Now if you wrote that as x plus 3 times x plus 2, it doesn't matter, it means the same thing. Okay, recap again. Sum, number in front of the x. Product is the number without the variable. We write the factors of the product, the numbers which multiply together to give you the constant. We then add the factors and pick the ones which give you the sum. Then we put that in brackets. And then our final step is to solve. So we've got x plus 2 times x plus 3 equals 0. Now you know if you've got two things which multiply together to give 0, one of them has to equal 0. And these brackets just mean multiply. So I can go, therefore, x plus 2 equals 0, or x plus 3 equals 0. Right, x plus 2 equals 0. What does x equal? Well, I'm going to get rid of the plus 2 by taking 2. So x equals negative 2. And then I've got x plus 3 equals 0. I'm running out of room here. X plus 3 equals 0. So I'm going to get rid of the plus 3 by taking 3. So x equals negative 3. So you'll see there you've got two answers, and that's correct. That is actually correct, because what this is saying, you don't have to worry about this, but the reason you get two answers is because this is the equation of something that looks like that. And we're going, at this point, down here, is when that graph is equal to 0. And there's 2 points there. So that's why you get two answers. but you don't have to worry too much about that. All right, let's do another example. Let's use the same method, but do another example. So I'm just going to rub out my working out here and do the same process again, just with a different question. I'm going to actually in this one use negatives, so that is going to change something about the factors. So in this one I'm going to go x squared, and then I'm going to go take 2x plus 1. All right, got x squared take 2x plus 1. So let's do it all the same again. Let's first label it. That's my sum, and that's my product. So I'm going to then, first step, take the factors of the product. The product is 1. So factors of the product are just 1 and 1. Are they though? Because yeah, that's 1 plus 1. If I add that together, I'm going to get 2. That's not negative 2. So with these you have to remember that 1 times 1 equals 1, but negative 1 times negative 1 also equals 1, because negative times a negative is a positive. So if I add that together, negative 1 plus negative 1 is negative 2, okay, because it's the same as negative 1 take 1. So that's the pair that I want. So I'm going to put that in brackets, and I'm going to get x take 1 times x take 1 equals 0. Now that's the same as doing x take 1 all squared equals 0. Alright? And because we've got the same thing in the brackets, we're only going to get one answer in this case. X is going to be 1. That was a bit of a simple one. If we do a bit of a harder one than that, let's go change this to plus 10. And this is going to be negative 7. Alright, bit of a harder one. Factors of the product, well by now you probably know that's the product and that's the sum. The sum is negative 7 and the product is 10. So factors of the product, factors of 10, 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Nothing else, 5 and 2, and 10 and 1. Let's add them together. We go 1 plus 10 is 11, 2 plus 5 is 7, 5 plus 2 is 7. Oh dear, we don't have negative 7. But we remember about negatives. So, negative 1, negative 10, negative 2, negative 5, negative 5, negative 2. You're still going to get a positive product as long as both of them are negatives. So now we can look at that and go, alright, negative 2 take 5, that's actually equal to negative 7. So they're my 2. So I've done the factors of the product, I've added the factors, I'm now going to put it in brackets. So I'm going to get x take 2 times x take 5 equals 0. So x take 2 equals 0, or x take 5 equals 0. And then we can go, well, x equals 2 or x equals 5. Because to get rid of take 5 and take 2, I have to plus them. Now you can pause the video and go on with your worksheet at any time if you want to, or you can listen, keep on listening, because there's one more example I'd like to do. And that is when we've actually got a negative product. So if we've got something like this, you'll notice now we have a negative product and a positive sum. That's fine, because we know that a positive times a negative gives you a negative. So if we're writing out the factors of negative 10, they're going to be the same as the factors of 10. They're just going to have one of them is going to be a negative. So we can go 1 times negative 10. We could also go negative 10 times 1. Oh, negative 1 times 10. Either of those can be negative, but both can't be, because otherwise it's going to give you a positive. 2 and 5. 2 and negative 5, negative 2 and 5. And as you go, now you've got the hang of it, you might just want to add them up and see if any of them work, because then you don't have to list all of them. So if we go negative 1 take 10, well that's negative 9. negative 1 plus 10, that's 9. 2 take 5 is negative 3. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3. Ah, we've got a 3. So it must be this one. So there are two values, and we're just going to chuck them in there. So we're going to go x take 2 times x plus 5 equals 0. And then we solve it using null factor law. X take 2 equals 0, or x plus 5 equals 0. So x therefore, to get rid of negative 2 we plus it, x therefore equals 2. To get rid of 5 we take it, so we get x equals negative 5. And there are two answers. Hope that helps. Have a go at the worksheet and then enjoy your assignment.